Okay, and now we have one of the many lies that she loves to tell. He asks us about the flight, and immediately she starts talking about herself. She goes, she laughed about the Air Botswana crew. They were huge fans of Suits, and so they'd asked her to pose for a picture. Huge fans. I mean, they have binged the entire series and so excited to see me, and so, like, you know, of course they wanted a picture. Oh, you know, it's kind of hard because I was like not in the mindset to take pictures, but you know, you gotta do stuff for the fans. Without the fans, there wouldn't be any me, so I did. But yeah, it's kind of a crazy flight. Good morning, how are you? Welcome to another episode of I'll Spare You the Details. And last time we were together, we finally got to Meghan Markle. What an episode that was. You guys, like I said last time, I had truly tried to go at that first introduction with her with an open mind. I really, really wanted to believe that she had been charming in the beginning, that he had fallen for her through no fault of his own. But after reading it, I thought, no, this kind of is your fault. You have spent a life that would not have prepared you to meet this predator. And there is such a cavernous need in Harry's heart for approval and to not be rejected. And he is basing his identity off of the acceptance of a beautiful person, that there was no way he was going to stand up against Meghan Markle. And she is playing out of some kind of playbook like I've never seen. It's all very calculated. It's all very emotionally manipulative. And she started out on the first date being very short and upset with him because he was running late to the date. Like I said at the very end of that video, I do think that people should make an attempt to be on time, certainly for a first date. But the reason I had an exception to the way I felt about that is that they had been messaging each other for days at this point, and like marathon, like all day long you're texting the person, you're up way into the night texting the person. And so it's not like she just met this guy at the grocery store and was like, you know, they had agreed to go out and then he was late. I mean, it was like they had very well established this idea that they were super into each other. So for her to suddenly be like, you're stuck in traffic? Okay. That's how you want to do it. You should really get out though, because I'm about to leave if you don't hurry. Like that whole attitude, it's your first date with the guy and you know you like him, so why are you being hard to get along with? There's no reason for that. And then, you know, they go on their second date and, you know, they're really into each other. It's all going really well. He then invites her at the last bit of our reading to come to Africa with him. Remember, she's put on this gigantic charade that, oh, she doesn't have any time, but let me check my calendar. Maybe, fingers crossed, if the stars align, I'll have time. Oh, lo and behold, the week that he's off, she's off. Who could have seen that coming? Me. So she says that she's left room for magic, and perhaps the magic is with him in Botswana, so they go. And that's where we will be picking up. All right, let me see. Got to do the business part of our little talk. Is there anything from last episode? I read all y'all's comments, obviously. I'm trying to think if there was one thing that people wanted me to correct. I don't think so. I feel like we were all pretty much on the same page. The one thing we were not on the same page is that I had a couple of people comment and be like, she is not beautiful. I guess opinions vary because I think she's really pretty. But, you know, it's interesting. I do feel like I thought she was prettier when I first saw her. And I don't know. I don't know that I've seen her recently and thought she's aesthetic, but it could very well just be that now that we sort of know a little bit more about who she is and how she operates, she's just less beautiful to me. But anyway, that was the only differing point. For the most part, we are all simpatico on how we feel about Miss Meghan Markle. Okay. Oh, and then also, if you guys are enjoying, please like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, send to a friend. By the way, several of you have been sending to friends, and I'm very appreciative. Okay, All right. You guys, I have so many notes on every single page. How will we get through this in a timely fashion? I'll try. So they can't fly to Botswana together. He says there's 2 reasons, but really there's only one. So I don't even know why he bothers with the second, except that it involves suppress. So he had to bring it in. He says they couldn't fly because he's actually already in Africa. He'd already been doing some work, and she was going to be flying in from Canada, I assume. And that was the first reason. That's the only reason. You're already there, so you can't fly in together because you're already there. That's the only reason. But the second reason, he says, is that we couldn't risk being seen together. The press finding out about us. Not yet. Not yet. Okay, well, but the thing is, you know, she has really impressed upon him that she's super famous. And he believes it, you guys. Hook, line, and sinker. He totally believes that she's like this A-list celebrity. Okay. Side note here. The willful ignorance throughout this entire portion is stunning. It's like, he believes she's really famous. But I'm like, from what? Where did you get this idea? Like, even her blog. I mean, I'm not saying she had no followers. But I mean, it's not like she had like 1 million people reading her blog or anything like that. She was not a household name. And somehow she has gotten to make him believe that she is. And we know he's Googling her. He said he is. Okay. But somehow he believes like she is, you know, hobnobbing with the big names, and, you know, that the poor girl can barely function in society because, you know, she's just so famous. Anyway, once she gets done doing her eat, pray, love thing, she flies from London to Johannesburg. Okay, so she wasn't flying from Canada. She was flying from London. And it's this long journey for her. And he can't meet her at the airport because he has a prior commitment. So he asks Tish to meet her. Now, you guys, okay, I can't seem to get ahead because I keep making all these little side notes. But just bear in mind, watch the way he uses Tish and Mike throughout this whole chapter to continue to progress his purposes, okay? They are props for him. Like when he needs to feel loved, when he needs to feel cherished, when he needs, Tish and Mike have to come to the rescue. But I have never in all of this seen him giving to Tish and Mike. I don't see him doing anything to repay them for their enormous generosity. And it is like unbelievable how much they will just drop everything for him. I don't understand why they do it. But anyway, Tish has been tasked with the job of going and getting Meghan from the airport. So he is stunned because after this 11-hour odyssey, including a 3-hour layover in Johannesburg and a hot car ride to the house, he says that Meghan had every right to be grumpy. But she wasn't. She was bright-eyed and eager, ready for anything. Well, what sort of a person would show up on like what is essentially their 3rd date? You know, just this mega bitch. You know what I mean? Like, it's not time to be that person yet. So of course she's going to be like super overly like excited, like, oh my gosh, I'm here. You guys, what are we doing next? You know, that whole song and dance. And the thing is that like the fact that he thinks that she should be grumpy, I'm like, has she given you the impression that this kind of thing would, like, do you know her so little now that you don't know how her reaction would be? Or do you know her enough to know that when she doesn't get her way, she gets grumpy? Have you met other girls that would you know, have a bad attitude? I mean, she knows she's going into Africa. It's not going to be like, you know, short Uber car ride over. Why would she be grumpy? Okay, anyway, I'm only 2 paragraphs in. I gotta hurry up. Okay, so he says that she just looked like ... perfection. And he says she was wearing cut-off jeans, these well-loved hiking boots, a crumpled Panama hat. I mean, she's come in the costume, you guys, okay? I have never been to Africa, but if I was going to Africa, I don't think that I'd wear cut-off jean shorts for a number of reasons. One being, I don't know that that is particularly appropriate for the culture there. But for a more practical reason, Africa's covered in thorns. Like, cover your legs. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not the time to show your man, you know, what you're packing as far as like how good your legs look, right? Seems like just cover yourself so that those gorgeous legs of yours aren't destroyed by the thorns, but whatever. Okay, now you guys, this part just really hurt my heart, and I don't know why, like, I don't know why I couldn't stop thinking about it. Like, literally, I'd be driving in the car and I'd think of it. And I'd just be like, oh man, oh, I hate that, I hate that, I hate that, I hate that. He says that he is so excited to see her. He comes to the gate. He opens the gate for at Tisha and Mike's house, and he hands her a chicken salad sandwich wrapped in saran wrap or cling film. I thought you might be hungry. I suddenly wished I had flowers or a present or something beside this measly sandwich. And we hugged, and it was awkward. Not just because of the sandwich, but the unavoidable suspense. We talked on FaceTime countless times since our first dates, but this was all new and different and a bit strange. I think him bringing a sandwich is really nice, honestly. Like, you've traveled for 11 hours. Like, for me, I'd be like, thank God, please. You know, I'd unwrap it and, like, feast on it immediately. And I don't know, like, his little offering, trying, and then, like, feeling like it wasn't good enough. Like, what was her response that he felt awkward because of the sandwich? Like, that's really nice. Thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for the food, you know? Like, I don't know. Like, it just, like, makes me feel kind of sad. Him handing her that little chicken sandwich and then, like, feeling like it was, like, you know, lame. It's not lame. Thank you for the food. Like, that's not lame. Oh, man, I hate that. I just hate that so much. I hate it when people try to do a kind thing and like it just falls flat. Like I just, anyway, whatever. Okay, so he says that they're both kind of a little bit stressed out because they're both wondering, is this going to translate? You know, we've enjoyed talking to each other FaceTime, constantly text, constantly. We've met each other twice in London. And so they're wondering if how it's going to be. And, you know, what if it's not great and they're like stuck out here in the bush together? Oh, okay, and now we have one of the many lies that she loves to tell. He asks us about the flight, and immediately she starts talking about herself. She goes, she laughed about the Air Botswana crew. They were huge fans of Suits. And so they'd asked her to pose for a picture. Huge fans. I mean, they have binged the entire series and so excited to see me. And so, like, you know, of course they wanted a picture. Oh, you know, it's kind of hard because I was, like, not in the mindset to take pictures, but, you know, you got to do stuff for the fans. Without the fans, there wouldn't be any me, so I did. But yeah, it's kind of a crazy flight. Okay, so, you know, that is so much BS, I cannot even. Okay, the way he talks about Suits, like it was like Friends or something, like everybody on earth has seen it. I had never even heard of Suits until Meghan Markle came on the scene. And to this day, I've never watched an episode. I don't even know what channel that show was on. I don't know if it was bigger, maybe in England or Australia, or like, where were people watching this show? I don't know. But it wasn't in America. No American's ever even heard of that show. But he continues to act like everybody that they come in contact with is like, whoa, Meghan Markle off a Suit. That's crazy. How did you pin that girl down? Like, no, nobody even knows who this girl is, but he doesn't get that. Anyway, he totally believes that everybody on the Botswana flight, you know, was crazy about meeting Meghan. And he's over there being like, oh no, what if somebody posts the picture and then it's gonna be the cat out of the bag that she's here with me? It's like, you know what, that is so super self-centered because according to her, she's always in Africa doing aid work. All the time. It's just like my second home with me and the kids and the gorillas. And so it's like, why would they immediately be like, oh, Prince Harry's also in Africa? Let me do the math. What could that mean? No, nobody would even think of it. Because first of all, no one even noticed that she was even going to Africa because nobody cares or tracks what she does at all. Anyway, he's like, I just hope nobody posts the picture. Okay, so anyway, after they have that, you know, little moment of lies and anxiety, they get into the truck and they bounce around on the roads and, you know, he's over there pointing out all the African wildlife and, you know, they're just having this lovely nature studies moment. And then he, you know, he says he waits a respectful period of time before he holds her hand. And then when the road gets a little flatter so he doesn't smash her in the face, he ventures a kiss. It's just as both of us remembered. There's a connection. It's a lot of boring talk about how he's pointing everything out to her and just the way he writes about them, like watching the animals, is just annoying. I can't even describe it. I wish that I could articulate why it bugs me, but, you know. Look. Oh my God, is that giraffes? Over there, look. Family of warthogs. I saw a breeding herd of elephants. Dads, moms, babies. Hi guys. We started along a firebreak road. The birds were going nuts. which sent a weird shiver down my spine. Lions in the area. No way, she said. I don't know. I don't have the energy to even try to articulate why it's annoying, but it just is. Trust me. Okay, anyway, finally they get to the little satellite camp that Tish and Mike have already prepared. Okay, so like they're just his, you know, they're just his little minions. Like he says jump and Tish and Mike are just like, what? How can we do everything to make your life easier? I mean, it's very generous of them, but it just bothers me that he doesn't ever seem to notice that it's so generous. It's like he just takes it for granted that he can just tell, you know, African mom and dad what to do and they'll do it. Anyway, he says that Meghan, whom I was now calling Meg, or sometimes just M, was stunned at all the vivid colors and the fresh air, blah, 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 blah. And then he says, when they finally got to the little camp, M said that she needed something out of her suitcase. It was a small suitcase, he would admit, but he says that he shamefully stereotyped this American actress because he figured that she was probably some sort of a diva and she'd probably start pulling out hair dryers and makeups and fluffy duvets and many, many shoes. And then to his shock and delight, there wasn't anything in the suitcase but the bare essentials: shorts, ripped jeans, and snacks, and a yoga mat. Oh, the yoga mat. Now, I think it's funny that he says that he was shamefully stereotyping her as an American actress that equals a diva. And you know what I think to that? I think that that was when he still knew his ass from his elbow. Because she is an American actress who is a diva, but you somehow are not noticing that she's just one step ahead of you in this game. She made sure that you saw what was in her bag so that you would know that she was just like this super nature girl. It's just me, my, you know, bag of nuts and my yoga mat. So super like into the dirt and like nature and just like, you know, being. Just love to just be. So here she is, by the fire. He says that T showed her how to cut off the end of a plastic water bottle and turn it into a goblet so they could drink wine out of that. I don't really get how that works. What kind of water bottle was that? The stem would be this long. I don't get that. Why don't you just pour the wine in the water bottle? Why do you gotta like make this? Okay, whatever. I gotta move on. Okay, he says they laugh about the fact that she says flashlight, he says torch. Isn't it so charming, the diversity that's already within this union? He says it was a very Spartan setup in their tent. Okay, so if she thought she was glamping, you know, this is really blowing her out of the water, but she was so awesome about it because she like didn't even complain that they were just, you know, in a normal tent. And you know, I just want to say this. Yeah, one more side note. Okay, she's totally fine with the Spartan conditions of the tent, right? You just wait till she finally gets to not caught for the first time, and his paranoia, his fear, his anxiety about allowing her to come into his home is so, it makes my heart rate go up just thinking about the situation. Because here's the thing, like I have had a relationship in the past that so mirrored this, that I think this is why I am so hyper agitated by the things that she does, because I just see it. I know it. I know what it is to be in a relationship with somebody who uses power and control and manipulation to make you feel small. And if you're not in the right headspace to combat that, you don't even see it for what it is, you know? And anyway, I mean, not to make this about me. It's not about me. I just think that that's why, like, you know, the first date and the second date stuff and like just her little comments about like, are you watching cartoons, and like constantly putting him down and making him feel like there's hoops that he has to jump through in order to gain her approval. And then she'll met out this, you know, gratitude, appreciation, or forgiveness, you know, at measured intervals to make sure that he's still coming along for the ride. But then as soon as he gets close enough, she shoves him away. You know, that little song, that song and dance of immaturity, I recognize that, and I hate that for him. And it's like why I hated the whole thing with the sandwich, because I have been in situations where I've tried to make a gesture and it was very clearly disdained, and I thought I was being nice, and it was a nice thing that I did, but it's like, oh, I can't let you get too close. I can't let you think you're winning yet. You know, I gotta, you know, make sure that I've still got my boot on your throat, you know? And so anyway, all this to say, he's so grateful for her for not pitching a fit about camping, but she'd been invited on a camping trip. So why was he anticipating that she would have a bad attitude? It's so weird to me how much he likes her, because I can't even see anything about his experience that would indicate that he was enjoying himself. It's constantly this need to gain her approval, constantly this this race that, you know, to get, you know, to stay ahead of her disdain, to stay ahead of her disapproval, to keep her happy. That's how it's been since day one. Never, there's nothing in this relationship that would show that she's extending anything of herself. And I just don't know why he stayed in it, except for the fact that because she was beautiful and his identity and his self-worth was crumbling so quickly that he thought, if I can get her stamp of approval, then I'm actually okay. I'm okay. I'm not the mess that I'm telling myself. If she wants me, that means I really am worth something. And so he is willing to constantly run after her affection because her affection means he's okay. Anyway, they go camping, but she gets freaked out in the middle of the night because they hear a munching sound. Oh, it's elephants. And, you know, it won't hurt us, will it? It's eating like right outside the tent. No, it's fine. Then she hears lions roaring. She can't go to sleep, but, you know, he calms her down. It's like, lay your head on my chest and trust me, I'll keep us safe. And when I read that, you know, she lays her head on his chest and he says, trust me, I told her I'll keep you safe. That was like another heart-stopping moment. Just like the whole, like the first time we read Meghan Markle's name, because it's like, no, you're not going to keep, you aren't keeping you two safe. Okay. No, she's allowed you to believe that you are the strong leader here, you know, super masculine guy who's going to, you know, herd the family towards safety, that together in your union, you are going to, you know, it's y'all against the world, and you're so strong and protective and manly, and you're going to make sure that nothing happens to her. And it's like, no, you actually are none of those things. She's letting you play act in the dark over there. Meanwhile, she's got, you know, 10 balls in the air, and she's the one steering you straight into the pits of hell, but she's letting you believe that you're something that you aren't. Anyway, the whole time they're there, she's just talking about herself, like all about how, okay, he says that she told him this. Meg told us a bit about her life, about growing up in Los Angeles, about her struggles to become an actress, doing quick changes between auditions in her rundown SUV, on which the doors didn't always work. She was forced to enter through the boot. She talked about her growing portfolio as an entrepreneur, her lifestyle website, which had tens of thousands of readers. In her free time, she did philanthropic work. She was especially fierce about women's issues. I was fascinated, hanging on every word, when in the background I heard a faint drumbeat. She's perfect, she's perfect, she's perfect. But why? Explain to me. This is so classic Harry throughout this entire book. Make a statement, tell me nothing. Why is she so perfect? Because she can talk all about herself and make you feel like she's an accomplished person, so that if this accomplished person chooses you, then you're okay? Like, is it something that selfish? Or is there something about her that you're like, together, the two of us, you know, I could give her this and she could give me this, like we'd be a great partnership. Like, what exactly about this relationship is so wonderful? Okay, but he says that Charles and Cress had always told him that he had a Jekyll and Hyde personality, that when he'd come to Africa, he'd be, as they said, Happy Spike in Botswana. But then when he'd come back, he'd be Prince Harry in London, and he was very tightly wound and hard to get along with and all of this. And he says, I'd never been able to synthesize the two, and it bothered me. It bothered them, and it bothered me. But this woman, I thought, I could do it. I could be Happy Spike all the time. And cue all of the pictures of him looking miserable. Why did he think he could be so happy with her? He hasn't done a good job of explaining why it is that he thinks that she would be such an addition to his life, other than the fact that everything he says is, oh, she's applying for a job in his life. Like, he quotes her CV like it's something that we like, that is what made her worthy of being part of his life. And I know he doesn't feel that way, but that's all he can say about her, because that's quite frankly all she was offering. I do this, 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 I do this. Aren't I awesome? And no, you ain't awesome, because all the things you're saying is just a lot of overhyped stuff. But anyway, he says that Meg called him Has. That's her little name. I guess she hadn't graduated to calling him H yet. Why does she do that? Does she think that's British? She's definitely watched too much of Bridget Jones. Anyway, he says when it was time for them to part, it's very emotional. He said that he had this 3-phase lads trip planned. It'd been planned for months. And he said he just couldn't cancel it because they'd be upset. Well, who's expecting you to? Meghan just finished telling you before you even came on this little trip that she had her little eat, pray, love summer. She's already regaled you with all of the reasons why she couldn't be with you. But now that he has something to do with his friends, now she starts crying. Here come the waterworks. She's like, I just don't know how I'm gonna do this without you. I don't know how I'm gonna go home without you and you going out with your friends. And she's crying, when will I see you again?
Don't worry, I'll make sure you don't feel lonely when I'm gone. Don't cry, don't cry.
So it's like, oh, this is another, one more step in her many-phased plan. You know, it's like, well, what happened to everything you said you had to do? You said you were so busy. It should be no thing that he's got something to do because you are so busy. But now that he has something to do, now she needs to make sure he feels put upon. Now she's going to start that emotional manipulation. Why are you leaving me to go with your friends? Don't you care about me? You know, so it's just like, lady, anything she can do to make him feel emotionally on edge. We're going to watch that pattern. Well, now we come to the boys' trip. You guys, this whole section, I don't know if he was trying to describe how much in love he was with her, but all it was is like, dude, you were so whipped. This is disgusting. Like, you can care about somebody and still live your life. You don't need, this time you had with her was literally your 3rd time seeing her, okay? So I guess you've already handed over what was left of your frozen Todger, but if you can manage to get it back, you should probably start that mission because this is so gross. So he goes on this trip with his friends, but you can already see he's like totally, disenchanted with them. There used to be a time when he was out smoking and drinking and carrying on with the best of them, and that was good enough. But now that he has Meghan in his life, he like looks at he's still involved with it. That's the thing. He's still acting like that, but he keeps talking about his, stupid drunken mates and like, they're so crazy and they're just so silly and so childish and so like lame. And it's all her projection on his friends. That's not how he ever felt about them. He obviously liked them. He wanted to go on a trip with them. There's a whole bunch of them going. They're supposed to have a good time. And the entire time is him obsessed with making sure he doesn't lose contact with Meghan. And everybody has to be involved in his stress level regarding the broken connection that they end up having. Because he says that one day they were out on the jet skis in the river. And he said that he had taken the iPhone out of his pocket and put it in the console of the jet ski. Okay. Let me do you one better. And he's real proud of himself about that too, that he really thought clearly about what to do. But it's like, why don't you just leave your phone in your tent? You don't need it. What are you gonna text her while you're on the jet ski? Like, have a good time with your friends. Put your phone away. Anyway, he takes the phone, puts it into the console, but some stupid idiot friend of his decided to jump on the jet ski with him. Then another joker jumped on, and now there's 3 of them, and it's too many people on the jet ski. Well, they're cruising around trying to avoid the hippos and the crocodiles. He says that his friend Addie's hat flew off, and so his friend was like, go back, I gotta get it. And while he's trying to lean over and get the hat, and his friend's trying to help, they all fall into the river. His sunglasses fall off his face. He's trying to dive to go get them. And then he remembers that while they were spinning around, a crocodile had jumped into the water off a sandbank, so now he's hyper aware of the fact that he might be about to be chewed up. But all of that fear is replaced when he realized, oh my gosh, my phone, my iPhone. Apparently the jet ski had fallen to the side and now the console's flooding. Meg! Oh, what's he gonna do now? How's he gonna get into contact with her? What about all his text messages? Well, she's got all the text messages, she can let you know what y'all said if you, need them. He says that he'd known this lad's trip was going to be wild, so he'd sent some of his photos to Meg and some other mates before leaving as a precaution. Don't you have iCloud? Like, you didn't back any of these up? I'm sure that they can do something for you at the Apple Store. Anyway, he says that the rest were surely lost. But the worst thing was, how was he going to stay in touch with her on this trip? How is he gonna go on? And more importantly, she's gonna be so pissed off when she finds out, like when he can't get in touch with her. That's really what it is, okay? I'm not saying he didn't want to talk to her, but now his heart rate is up because she's mad. She's gonna get mad. She's gonna get mad. She's gonna get mad, you know? And so it's like that, now that's the drumbeat. It's not she's perfect, she's perfect, she's perfect. It's she's mad, she's mad, she's mad, she's mad, she's mad. I gotta fix this, I gotta fix this, I gotta fix this. And you see this entire trip just to start to disintegrate because now he can't talk with her and he is so worried about her reaction that now it's everybody's problem. He says that his friends were like, oh, don't worry, we'll put it in a bag of rice and we'll dry it out. And he's like, well, how long is that gonna take? I don't know, a day or two? And he's like, no, it's not good. I have to have a solution now. They work out a plan. He says, I could write a letter to Meg, which he'd take home with him to Tej, and then Tej would photograph the note, and then she would text it to Meg because she had Meg's number in her phone from when she had to pick her up from the airport. And so that's how Meghan would know that I wasn't ignoring her. I'm not, okay? Don't get mad. I'm not. My phone fell in the river with a crocodile, but I'm not ignoring you, okay? I'm not. And so he's like desperately looking around. He's like, I gotta find paper. He's gotta find a pen. Pen. Is anybody a pen? What do you want? Like his friends are like, what is the panic? And he's like, a pen, a biro. Oh wow, a biro. The biro again. The man can't get a pen without immediately having flashbacks to the disdain of Aunt Margot. Anyway, finally he finds one. He goes and sits under a tree and he composes a note. He writes,
hey, beautiful, okay? You got me. I can't stop thinking about you. Missing you. Lots. Phone went in the river. Sad face. Apart from that, have an amazing time, but wish you were here.
So he hands over the letter to Mike. Mike takes it back. Days later, they wrap up the boating part of the lads' trip. They return to Tej and Mike. Tej immediately says, relax, I got a reply. Calm down, it's gonna be okay.
So it hadn't been a dream. Oh, thank God. Meg's real. All of it's real.
And he says that he's just so, like, finally, like, all the panic, he can calm, he can breathe, it's gonna be okay. And he starts off on the second part of his trip. And this time he brought a satellite phone because he's not about to get stuck in that place again. The problem is you can't really text or send pictures, but at least they can talk. So he says that he climbs all the way up to the top of trees so he can get better reception. He dials Meg, or before he can say anything, she blurts out, I know I shouldn't say this, but I miss you. Oh, I know I shouldn't say that, but God, I do. And of course he's like,
well, I shouldn't say it either, but I miss you.
It's like, you guys grow up. Well, why shouldn't you say that? Are you two adults in a relationship or aren't you? Like, what is this like immature middle school games you're playing? It's so many games. So many games. Why can't you just be like, oh my gosh, I miss you. Sounds like you're having an amazing time. I miss Africa. I miss the time we spent together. Tell me everything that's happening. Like, be a normal human being. You could say you miss somebody. Like, why is that like some, beyond the pale to admit it? It is if you're in 6th grade. Okay, so now on the second part of the trip, he continues on, just not being part of the trip, but totally in his mind 1,000 miles away with Meghan. He finds it hard to write letters to her because he just can't think of the right things to say. So what he decides to do is, like, he'll write her a letter, but then he goes around wherever they are picking flowers and interesting bits of flora and fauna, and then he composes like a scene, and he'll write a letter and he'll burn the edges of the letter and like encircle it with a lot of flowers and pretty barks and bugs and interesting things. Then he will use somebody else's phone to take a picture of it, and we'll send it using somebody else's phone, and then wait patiently for her answer, and then she replies, and she even signed it, your girl. He congratulates himself on the end of this trip because he says that just even though he's had to have constant improvisation, despite the sheer determination, somehow he's managed throughout the lads' trip to stay in constant contact. And he says that when he finally returned to Britain, he felt a huge sense of accomplishment. He hadn't let soaked phones and drunken mates and a lack of mobile reception or a dozen other obstacles scuttle the beginning of this beautiful, whatever it's called. Like, he doesn't quite know what label to put on this. But I would say you felt like that was an accomplishment, that you sacrificed this time with your friends to be in a completely, like, to be ripped apart because half of you is with Meghan, half of you is trying to be here with your friends. Like, just be in the moment, just be present. The best thing that could have happened to you was to lose your phone, because then you might have been able to invest your time with your friends. But it's like, he's like, I was in constant contact, but like with who? Not with reality. Because those guys asked you to come and be part of the trip and you're just half in, half out. I mean, what an insult to them. You're not with Meghan, okay? When you're with Meghan, you can fawn all over her and be like, you know, whisper sweet nothings into each other's ears. But for right now, you're with these people. Be with these people, you know? And so here we begin to see the degradation of his friendships, because who wants to be with this guy whose whole world is wrapped up in somebody who isn't there? Now, granted, Harry has had a long history of his world being wrapped up in somebody who's not there, so maybe they're used to it. But, you know, freaking out about his phone, making everybody like take pictures and travel distances so that those pictures can be sent, and, you know, constantly like going off the beaten path. They're all going this way, he's going that way because there's flowers and bark and bugs to pick up to put in his little pictures. It's like, what an annoyance that would have been. Okay, so he gets back, he gets another phone because he can't live without it. And, you know, it's always all day long, it's a frenzy of texting, FaceTiming, you know, waking up to text, going to bed to text, staying up all night. You know, never a minute of the day where they're not living in each other's back pockets. At the end of August, they've scheduled another meeting, another time to be. I guess he wants us to know that one of the things he loves the most about her is that she just hasn't Googled him. And he knows this for a fact because she asks so many questions. Because, like, why would she even ask that if she, like, already knew the Google answer? So, like, that's the proof. It's like, Harry, could you be so dumb? Like, how ignorant of you? For a number of reasons she's asking. One, so that she can hear you explain the things that have happened in your life. If she's interested in you at all, who would want to read about it on Google, and then that would be good enough, right? Like, if I was going to go out with a guy and he was famous, I wouldn't, like, rely on what Google told me. Like, who wants to hear that? Like, I want to hear your stories from your voice, okay? So that's one reason. But the other reason too is, of course she's going to ask, because she can't let you think she already knows everything about you. That would upset you, right? And so he is, he's probably already told her throughout this, you know, how much he's hated being a royal and how much he's hated the press and how much they have lied about him his whole life. So if she were to talk about things that clearly had come from newspaper articles, she'd push him away. So of course she's not going to mention. But he, like, totally buys he buys that she hasn't looked him up. And that shocks me, because he's looking her up, he's Googling her, he said he has. So, like, that would be a common human response. I'm going out with somebody who is mega famous, at least she is, not him. She's going out with somebody who is incredibly well known. You know, you wouldn't look the guy up if you'd never heard of him, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, you're going out with Prince Harry. Now, none of us believe she didn't know who he was. None of us believe she wasn't orchestrating this relationship from the get-go. How did she even know Violet? Anyway, so we all believe that she had definitely Googled him. But even if she hadn't, say like it was all super organic how they met. Once you find out that he's super famous, you're going to tell me that you wouldn't be like, wait, who is this guy? Right? That would just be human nature. Okay, so he says that since she asks a lot of questions, that's obvious that she doesn't know anything about him. Anyway, he says that as soon as he gets done laying some flowers on Mummy's grave, that same day that she happens to be there in town, he runs right over and goes to the secret entrance at Soho House and runs into Meghan's arms. And just the way he writes about this, I'm just like, okay, 100% he didn't write any of this book, but especially the part about when he meets Meghan, it is not written by a man. No way this was written by a man. This entire portion was handed to the ghost writer from Meghan's hand. off of Meghan's computer. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not written by man. This is how he writes about that 4th time of meeting each other. All went according to plan. After I'd met the friend and navigated a sort of maze through the bowels of Soho House, I finally reached Meg's door. I knocked and suspended breathing while I waited. The door flew open. That smile. Her hair was partly covering her eyes. Her arms were stretching out for me. She pulled me inside and thanked her friend in one fluid motion and slammed the door quickly before anyone saw. I want to say we hung a do not disturb sign on the door, but I don't think there was time. Like, her hair was partly covering her eyes. Her arms were reaching for me. What are these details? Not anything a man would say. This is all just so, like, this is so clearly somebody who spent from 1995 to 2003 watching every rom-com that ever came out. He says that that morning after, you know, their romp at Soho House, they phoned room service, and it was just so annoying because there wasn't anywhere to hide when room service showed up. And, you know, there wasn't like, he couldn't climb under the bed. There wasn't like a closet or an armoire to hide in. And so he could do nothing but just hide under the duvet, the fluffy duvet, and like lie flat. There's not a bathroom in this suite? Okay, so there he is hiding under the blankets this whole time when he could have just ducked into the bathroom. God forbid we use our brains. And it was really annoying because the guy who delivered the food was a hotel assistant manager who like loved Meghan and then wanted to sit and chit chat forever. And blah, blah, blah. He won't stop talking. And Harry is like, there's 2 breakfasts here. Can't you tell that she's with somebody? Like, get out. But the guy just couldn't put 2 and 2 together. He didn't notice the prince-shaped lump under the duvet. Anyway, finally she gets out. Or finally the guy leaves. They like die laughing. It's just so funny. Look at this funny little predicament. We're just so fun. Aren't we fun? You know, you, me, the prince, the actress, like having to like be so silly to hide who you are. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. There's so much more to get through. So the silliness continues when they decide that they need to go to the grocery store because Harry has invited a bunch of his friends, or not a bunch, but 3 friends over to his house to Knotcott. And he has agreed to cook dinner, but actually there's no groceries at the house, so they need to go to the grocery store. And so, of course they can't go in together. What a wild idea to go into a grocery store together. You know, her being who she is, so famous because of Suits. So fresh, so fun, so famous. And so he says that they both go in disguise. She's wearing a flannel shirt, a bulky overcoat, a beanie. But he's just shocked that no one recognizes her. I mean, like, Suits is a huge show. Like, how in the world can she disguise that famous face? But somehow she manages to do it, even despite the fact that, quote, plenty of Brits watch Suits. You guys tell me, do you watch it? Did you watch it? Did you know who she was? Let me tell you, no American knew who she was. So anyway, he says that she was just so conspicuous because she had these suitcases and Soho bags and all this stuff in her trolley, in her little grocery cart. And it was like, he thought that looked weird. And so he thought probably people were noticing her, but somehow they managed not to catch everybody's eyes. Imagine that. He's over there equally anonymous. He grabs the basket and starts walking casually. And, you know, they're passing each other, shooting each other these little smoldering looks. She's like, you know, being really, really sexy every time she walks past him, you know, just being ridiculous. And all very saucy, all just like the little, you know, the little playful glances, the little sly smiles. She's saying that she's gonna make some roasted salmon from a recipe that she ripped out of Food and Wine. And so they start making a grocery list with the other things they'll need. She said she was gonna go find a baking sheet. I guess he's got nothing to cook with, even despite the fact that he tried to tell us he made all his own meals. And he's supposed to go find parchment paper, but he doesn't know what the F parchment paper is. So she's like trying to talk him through it on the other side of the aisle. Like she scoots over some stuff and like telling him through the aisle. It's right up there, right? Oh, you almost there, right there. And like, they're just so charmed by their charmingness. Like, they just love who they are in this moment so much. They just think that they're so wildly fun. Like, look at us being so fun. So, somehow they manage to con everyone in the grocery store into not realizing who they are. And then they, you know, make a mad dash and meet his bodyguards, you know, who are parked in some special little spot, blah, blah, blah. And now we get to the part where Meghan is invited for the first time to his home. Now, I guess the rule is 4 dates in and a trip to Africa means you can see the guy's house. So remember, she was really offended he asked her to come in the first place. But now that she has rolled around in a tent with him in Africa and also besmirched the sheets of the Soho house, now they can attend his residence. So here they are, and he's filled with trepidation at bringing her home. Okay, so they're driving from the grocery store to his house, and the whole time all he can think is, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, she's gonna not like my house, she's gonna think it's junky, she's gonna think that it's just like this gross bachelor pad, and I don't know what to say. It's not really that nice, it's like so shabby, it's not caught was palace adjacent, and that was the best you could say for it. What a stupid term, palace adjacent. You guys, don't even get me started on the fact that he never thought of that term. That was something she told him later. I guarantee you, when she then had, like, she moved into Not Caught later, that was her big joke. She probably told that to everybody. She probably thought that was so funny. Like, okay, we don't live in the palace. We live palace adjacent. Let me tell you how gross it is. Like, can't you just hear that? So he says that he watched her as she walked up the front path through the white picket fence. And to his relief, she made no sign of dismay, and she gave no indication that she was disillusioned. Thank God, you know? What the? Would she have done that? Like, would she have walked up to your home? You were prepared for her to walk to your home and be like, ew, yuck. This is where you live? Oh, gross. You're a prince. What? Ew. That was what you were prepared for? This is what I keep not understanding about this relationship. Okay. Has she, in moments that that have not been detailed for us, has she given him any impression that she is snooty and looks down her nose at things? Because he keeps being afraid of that reaction. I don't know where this comes from. Is this just like a deep-seated fear that she'll reject him? So she's given no indication that she would do these things, but he's just afraid she will? Or in episodes not written about and not articulated for us, has she showed that she is a disdainful person? Well, I would say she has shown some disdain. Like the time he couldn't get out of the car fast enough to please her, or when she called him and he was watching a cartoon with a friend. I think that there is something about her personality that he feels like, there are certain things that I have to do to keep her from looking down her nose at me. Maybe that's what it is. But he is really, really anxious about bringing her into his home. And I don't totally understand why he was so scared, because I think it stands to reason that if he was prepared to have her to his home and to have guests that night, he would have either cleaned up himself, which I don't think he would have done because he was busy with her all day. But you're going to tell me that they couldn't have sent a housekeeper around? You're going to have guests that night. Like, you would tidy your home up. Even if you weren't having like, he's having a dinner party, right? So what is, like, did he think he was going to walk into his home and be like, oh, crap, I forgot that there's beer bottles and, you know, paperwork and dirty socks lying all over the place? Like, he acts like he's surprised to walk into his own home and be like, oh, is it going to be clean? I don't know. Well, don't you know? Anyway, so he says they walk in. He's got the Union Jack in the corner, the one that he waved at the North Pole. He's got an old rifle on the TV stand. He's got an Xbox console. Like, he feels like the whole place just looks like such a frat house. And he's over there shuffling papers and moving around clothes. And he's like, it's just a place I keep my stuff. It's not much. You guys, I'm really sorry. I'm filming this later. We're gonna have to deal with the planes. I live like really near a little airport, and I'm sorry. There's like nothing I can do about this. Anyway, but he says that she's just like looking around. She's not really saying anything. I mean, she's not being mean or anything, but you know, he says that the construction of the house is just really small. It's just like, it's for little people, you know, it's like a doll's house really. And he's so tall that it's just really hard for him. But he gives her a quick tour. It like takes 30 seconds because it's just such a hole, you know. And he has to keep telling her, mind your head, mind your head. She's not that tall. Anyway, he says that he'd never noticed how shabby his furniture was, and he's super embarrassed about it. And, you know, there's the brown sofa, and there's his brown beanbag chair. Meg paused. Looks at the beanbag chair. A beanbag chair? Okay. And that's all she says, but does the person need to say more than that for you to just feel like lower than a snake's belly, so embarrassed? Like, you guys, their relationship just, oh, so much anxiety in my own heart while I read this. Okay, so the dinner guests come, his cousin Eugene, her boyfriend Jack. They have a great time. And here's the thing, they love Suits, like huge Suits fans. And so getting, you know, hearing all her stories and stuff, it's so fun. They drink tons of wine, they drink tons of tequila. Eugene's hugging Meghan, they're like sisters. It's like so, like, it's just like the greatest evening. He's so stoked to introduce her to the rest of his family because this just went swimmingly. Except for the fact that Meg says she doesn't feel good and she complains that her stomach is upset and she looks really pale. So she says she's going to bed. And he's like, oh God, she's a lightweight. Well, y'all just finished drinking tons of wine and tequila. Like, God forbid she doesn't feel well. But anyway, she takes herself off to bed. He takes another drink. Then he sees his guests out, tidies up a bit. He goes to bed around midnight. And when he wakes up at 2 a.m., he hears her throwing up in the bathroom. And she's sick, like really sick, not drunken sick. Is there a difference between being sick and being drunken sick? Like, throwing up sounds the same, but whatever. Anyway, he says something else was going on. He ventures into the bathroom. Food poisoning, he says. By the way, not from her salmon, okay? Which, by the way, she got rave reviews of. You literally throw salmon in the oven at 400 degrees for 20 minutes. It's super hard. Anyway, she had eaten some calamari, British calamari, so of course it was gonna make her sick. And she's over there on the floor and she says softly, you guys brace yourself. Please tell me you're not having to hold back my hair while I'm vomiting. Yes, I am. I rubbed her back and eventually put her to bed. Weak, near tears, she said she'd imagined a very different ending to date 4. Stop, I said.
Taking care of each other. That's the point. That's love, I thought, though I'd managed to keep the words inside.
Okay, I had intended for us to go further, but this is already an hour video, so I guess we'll stop here. But next time, he's going to introduce not Meghan, but the idea to William and Kate that he is with Meghan, and their response is ridiculous because it's a lie. He says that they were so stoked to meet Meghan because they were huge religious fans of the show Suits. I can guarantee you that William and Catherine do not have time to sit in their living room after they've put their children to bed to watch some episodes of Suits. Okay, they're not scheduling time for that. Anyway, but back to the whole throwing up on the floor thing before I go. Can you guys even with this statement, please tell me you're not having to hold my hair back while I'm vomiting? That is so, okay. Granted, I'm not really much of a thrower-upper, but in all the times when I've been throwing up, that door is locked and no one's in there holding my hair back. I can do that, okay? I'm not so incapacitated that I need people to have my hair back while I throw up. I don't understand that. And why is that such a stereotype of like, we held her hair back so she could throw up? Like, you always hear that line. Who's hanging out with you in the bathroom while you're losing your lunch? She's trying to make him feel like he's doing something for her, but why did he need that? She didn't need that done. She's just over, it's just yet one more little thing. You know how she like feeds him like these little morsels of self-esteem from time to time when she's, not busy taking. She'll like say one little thing that he can cherish in his heart and feed off of until, the next time she decides to, please, sir, I want some more. Okay, you can have one little morsel. Thank you for holding my hair back while I vomited. It's like, she is just such a walking stereotype of a vapid American nightmare. And as an American woman myself, I hate to say that, but there's just, where is her substance? Where is her true substance? Her entire life is based on how can I maneuver and manipulate the people around me so that I get what I want when I want it. And when I'm tired of you and when you filled your purpose, I'm out. You know, so we'll see. I just don't see how Harry stays in this for the long run. I don't see that this one's not working out, you guys. And the only reason I think that he's staying at this point, and this point was made in the comments of the last video, and so thank you very much for making this point, but I really believe it's his children. I can't see why he would stay with this person. And then too, I think he's just so beat down emotionally that he thinks that there's no coming back from this, you know? And the truth is, I don't know how he'd come back to the royal family at this point, but living in the dark isn't the way to fix all of these problems. Like, he needs to come into the light. And if he could come into the light and make a public statement of like, I have grievously turned my back on my family, on my people, on my job, on my responsibilities. I want to come home. I don't know what that will look like, but I am at your service. I mean, it would truly be the prodigal son coming home. And I believe that King Charles would welcome him with open arms, because I don't think Charles is happy with this arrangement. How could he be? This is his son, you know, this is his darling boy. And I think he's probably angry about what Harry's done, but I think that if Harry truly wanted to repent of all the things he's done, people are forgiving. That's the thing. Very few people will continue to hold a grudge if they are approached with genuine repentance. If somebody comes to you and says, this is the way I wounded you, and let me walk you through all the ways that I have grieved you, and I want to apologize, I think it's very hard to stay angry at somebody who will own what they've done to you. And so I think that there is a way home for Harry if he wants it, but I don't think he's going to do it for two reasons. For his kids, I don't think she will fight to the death because she knows that's the way to keep him. And I think that he truly believes that he is spent goods and there's nothing that would come of him saying he's sorry. He keeps saying the ball is in everybody else's court. The ball is my family's court. The ball is my family's court, which shouldn't surprise us because everything has always been somebody else's. It's always been somebody else has to always make the overtures. Somebody else always has to come to him first. Somebody has to always arrange everything in his life. He doesn't know how to take the first steps. So I'm not surprised that he says it's in his family's court. And so since that's always been his personality, even before this, I don't think he's going to suddenly now have the strength to rally and to make the first step. But and now that he's been so beaten down, so emotionally abused, I just don't see how he gets strong enough to do this. Not on his own. I think he needs guidance. I think he needs, you know, quite frankly, what he needs is the Lord. I mean, truly, he is so adrift, and he has tried to anchor himself to somebody else who is also adrift. And I just don't see this going well. I don't see this ending well for him unless he steps out of himself and into the light of guidance of God. You know, I mean, I think he has got to find somebody who he's got to find stability because at this point he's floundering, and I just don't see him being able to turn around or have there's no inner strength here left. So we'll see. But anyway, yeah, stay tuned for next time. This video went so much longer than I expected, but I think that's just how it's going to be now that we're on Meghan, because there's just so much to talk about that I can't like just skip over vast portions or like skim stuff, because it's like every single page is like so much underlined, so many notes in the margins. Meghan, she's a piece of work, and she came with a plan and she's executing it to the letter. Anyway, I will see you later this week. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk soon. Bye.